Let's just try and get a sense of how long has the city known that this is a problem? How long have they been aware of this, and how long has it been that they've not done much about this? The blame game certainly is continuing. The Inner City Federation represents urban residents. They do good work. It's been calling on the City of Joburg to fix these dilapidated buildings. One of those, I'm sure, is the one that Pule is standing right on top of. But nothing has actually happened, and the ball keeps getting moved around. Well, let's hear from the federations. Siyabonga Mahlangu making time for us this morning from Inner City Federation. Siyabonga, morning. Good to have you with us. And that's a horrifying visual to take a look at, because we were there yesterday, and just in that street, yes, there's the building that got burnt out, but across the road is that building where Pule was standing, and then opposite him is another building that looks like it could go up in flames. I mean, just how difficult is this fight for you? Morning.
Morning. Thanks for having me. It's very, very difficult, because we are trying to call the City of Johannesburg to come and work together with us as the inner city resident to try to resolve whatever problem that might be occurring within the city. We started calling up City of Johannesburg as the residents since 2017, when Mayor Mashaba was there. We were called by John Perman on his broadcast. Mayor was there. We discussed that, and then we begged him to come on this party, to join the party, so that maybe we work out something. He promised, but nothing has happened.
Is that because he was removed, or did nothing happen even though he was there for a while?
Nothing happened even though he was there for a while. Even when Paul Palatse came in, we did the same thing. The last response that we got when we were proposing to have a meeting with them, discuss some such issues, is that the issues that we are trying to raise, we can't discuss those issues with them. We should take those issues directly to ward councillors. We responded and say, but how? Because even ward councillors, they do refer people to us. We're working together with ward councillors.
So the mayor's told you to take the concerns to the ward councillors?
Correct.
So the mayor can't get it sorted out, but the ward councillor can?
Okay. It's what they said to us.
Okay.
They responded that on our email and saying that, no, this is the matter that we can't deal with. It has to be dealt with ward councillors. Right.
And what did the ward councillors do? I imagine they said, well, they can't do anything. That needs to go higher up in the ranks.
It was obviously to us, because each and every time whenever there is an incident, or it's an eviction incident, cut off basic services, they do refer people to us. It shows that they are powerless, they've got nothing, they've got no powers to take some decisions.
How would you go about trying to fix this? It's an impossible question. It's how long is a piece of string? Where would you, as Inner City Federation, try and get on top of this? How would you advise those in power to try and fix this?
We always say one and a simple things. They've got constitutional duties to perform when it comes to poor people in terms of access to housing. Let us work together. Let us try to resolve this issue amicably in a way that, because the residents, they are willing to contribute something towards renovation of buildings, towards access to basic services, but they are being deprived in such situations.
Why is that? If there's money being paid, albeit a little bit, why aren't the buildings being kept up? Where's that money going? Because we're hearing it's going to illegal foreigners as the accusation, and it's people who have hijacked the building that are taking that money as landlords. Is that correct?
In some situations, it's correct, but not in most cases. Okay. Because remember, when the residents, they are residing there, there is no landlord. But they need water, they need electricity, they need sanitation. The city will say, pay me. If you don't pay me, I will disconnect. And then they will contribute and then pay directly to municipal account.
So what does the city now need to do? Because I had the MEC for Human Settlements on earlier saying that they want to put together an inquiry. We know Panyaza Lesufi has said there's going to be an inquiry. We're a nation of inquiries. That's what we do. How do you try and begin to make sense of how big this issue is in the inner city? Just in Joburg, I imagine. Do we know how many buildings have been hijacked? How many are a danger to live in? Siyabonga, do we have any idea?
In terms of hijacking, I think I have to clarify there first before I continue answering you, because the city, they confuse these two. We've got occupied building and hijacked building. The most building within the inner city are occupied. And they knows about this because there is some court cases. They went into those buildings, they do assessment, they made some report, they filed them to court.
Just explain the difference for me. I want to make sure I understand. Hijacked and occupied.
Occupied building is where the residents reside, no one is collecting rent, they only contribute towards municipal basic services.
Okay.
The hijacked one, it's where someone will come and claim to be the lawful owner of the property and start collecting rentals from the residents.
Right. Okay.
It's where the difference comes from. But the city has a huge role to play in such situation, and they know the residents, they've been calling upon them, they do nothing.
I suppose the problem is, when it comes to hijacked buildings or even these occupied buildings, you can go for the court system and have them evicted. We were out in the field yesterday and we had politicians saying that they shouldn't be in these buildings, it's illegal, we must have them evicted, we must move them. Where to? Where do you take, in this one building that was burned down, and you can't live there again, obviously, where do you take 200-300 families? Because we're just moving people. We're not fixing a problem.
That's the question we always ask them when they are going to come up with a permanent solution instead of coming up with temporal solutions. But no answer has been given. Even the court always asks them, when are you going to come up with permanent solutions? Nothing. What they want to do, what I saw and experienced, is that they want to take over the buildings and give it to private developers, while they know that the people who are mostly residing in the inner city, they are poor people, they can't afford to pay monthly rentals. They are aware of that. They even released some reports based on that.
Who's to blame for this fire, do you think? Someone's got to take the blame, and yes, we share the responsibility, or at least government does, but someone's got to be blamed for this so we can get a starting point. Who's that in your mind?
Is the owner of the property.
Do we know the owner of the property?
Yes, it's the City of Joburg. The property belongs to the city. And it was meant for women and children. It was a sort of a shelter.
It was for a little bit, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was for a little bit.
Yes.
But then that lease ended.
Yes, and then after they didn't take care of the building, it's their duty to do so. And then they mentioned that there was the case that was opened in 2019 for property hijacking. People, they were arrested. And then after that arrest, what did they did? Nothing. They said, okay, it's fine, we arrested these people who are hijacking the property, it's fine, you can continue sit there, without enforcing their own bylaws in terms of Section 7, bad building bylaw, where they will do inspection and see the health and safety hazard within the building. If the building is not safe and healthy or habitable, they have to do something. But they didn't do that.
Yeah, it certainly seems like they didn't. Siyabonga, I'm going to say goodbye to you in a second. Last few moments, though. What do you want to see start changing from today as the Inner City Federation? Because we've seen the other buildings. They also look very dangerous, and it might only be a matter of time till we have another incident. What do you want to see happen today? If all the politicians, the City of Joburg is watching, what do you tell them? What needs to change today?
What I want to see the city doing in those buildings is to come in on the board and to protect those people who are residing in those buildings. There is no need for them to be evicted. They can renovate those buildings while people are inside the buildings. Just a simple thing. We know they've been doing this in some other buildings. It will be not a new thing to be done while the people are inside, and then the renovation took place.
Well, there is some money being paid over, I suppose, is the point that you were making. Siyabonga, thank you very much for coming in to speak to us. Yeah, it's certainly a different way of looking at it as well, because up to now, I'm afraid that political rhetoric has, well, not from all the politicians, obviously, but certainly from the critical politicians yesterday, was that they need to be, these people need to be evicted and moved to elsewhere. But then, of course, it's that obvious question, to where? To where? But Siyabonga Mahlangu from the Inner City Federation saying that's not necessarily the way to go. There are other ways of doing this, but this is why we're having the discussion. My thanks to Siyabonga for coming in to speak to us.